I was a really quiet loner in school. I went to a rural country town school, and I was one of like three Asians, in the whole school. So I was kind of a misfit. And a lot of misfits flocked to me. I don't know why, but I was leader of the misfits always. And I think Mailchimp is like the island of misfit toys sometimes. And I think those early years of kind of listening and learning from a lot of these people who would come and talk to me, it kind of really helped me, tune into the way people were feeling and what they were going through. But then again, the reason why I'm conflicted about it is I also have this flip side of me as a leader, right? So I talked about my father, like being this really friendly guy, but when it's time to lead the troops, you can be kind of cold or harsh on the surface, right? You got to do what you got to do. To me, I think that most people probably see that side of me. So anyways, I have been told many times I have a high level of self-awareness and a high amount of EQ, but I'm also told I can be kind of cold and robotic because I'm pretty logical and I would just say what's got to be done. I may be in a more overly stoic way. I don't know. But, so I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted about that, but
I mean, I had Drew Houston on the show recently, and he said something brilliant, which was, "There's no nice way to deliver a grenade." And I think to that often, which is like, you know what, Ben, you're fired. So, like, say it nicely, say it not nicely, you're still fired. It sucks. So I totally get you. You said about kind of being leader of the misfits there, and again, the joy of doing the show is I can change the schedule. I was a misfit too, Ben, and I didn't have any friends for most of school, and it made me actually not great in business in one way, being I always want to people please, even when it's not the right decision, because I want friends, which sounds really sad when I say it like that. But like, that's a really negative trait that I've taken from being a misfit. Do you think there are any negative traits you've taken from maybe being a misfit yourself?
Ooh, now we're getting into some really deep psychological stuff here. I think that for me, being a misfit meant that I was bullied quite a lot, and I was discounted and disrespected quite a lot through my childhood years. Not at home. I lived in a very loving home, Thank God I had that kind of shield around me. But when I went to school, it was like fists up, get ready. So I was always ready for a fight. So I was ready to defend myself. And I think it made me want to prove that I was a valuable person. And I think that probably gave me this drive to be a great, successful entrepreneur. It just pushed me. I had to prove it. So on the one hand, that's really, really good. Probably on the other hand, if I feel like people are trying to push me in one direction, that sort of like, oh no, that old instinct of, oh, I'm being bullied pops up again, and I will push back, and I'll be very cold about it too, because I give no. I won't give any kind of, no apologies, man. It's just like, this is what we got to do. We got to do it. And I will not be swayed or pushed again. Never again. And so what that means is, I think, sometimes you have to go with the politics and understand politics a little bit better. And I understand it. I get it. I really do. I do have that EQ to get it. But sometimes you just have that sort of angst from your childhood, and you just sort of say, no, I'm not. If it's illogical, I'm not gonna concede or deal with that. So when you talk about bad habits, I think that's probably what I inherited from my environment.
I think the most kind of prominent lessons are from kind of quite painful times. Mine are probably mostly from being bullied at school too. When you think about the most painful lesson that you've learned, that you're also pleased to have learned, which is kind of a weird paradox, what would you say it would be? Just
being a misfit was always this painful thing just throughout all of school for me. I mean, even through high school, even a little bit through college. But what I've learned in retrospect is that it made me think differently. It made me kind of stubborn in some ways. It made me kind of stick to my guns. I think that really gave me this focus to be an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur. And I think that there were times when I think we could have sold the business early. There were a lot of people, a lot of suitors knocking on the door, a lot of investors knocking on the door. And I think I just sort of had this like stubbornness that I didn't need that. I didn't want it. I was going to do it myself, and I was going to do it my way.